in this season of my singleness, I've just been somewhat kind of an observationalist. And one thing that breaks my heart is that 40% of marriages end in divorce and 60% of remarriages end in divorce. The top two reasons for divorce are arguing and conflict and infidelity. And if you were to ask a good amount of people who had an affair in their marriage why they had an affair, they'd probably say, because my spouse no longer made me happy. And in this season of my singleness and preparing my heart and spirit to be a wife, one thing that the Lord has been teaching me about kingdom marriages is that kingdom marriages are not about happiness. They are about purpose. You can find happiness in your purpose, but you cannot find purpose in your happiness, because purpose is a constant and happiness is a variable. Happiness is an emotional state. It's a state of being that's affected by a variable. And a variable is something that's inconsistent and liable to change depending on what's affecting it. So if you place the responsibility of being happy on your spouse, and if you make your love and respect contingent on how your spouse makes you feel, then the moment they no longer make you feel happy, they no longer have your love. And that's not love, because 1 Corinthians 13:8 tells us that love never fails. It is never the responsibility of anybody but you to be the source of your happiness. Because if you put your happiness in the hands of anybody else, then if they leave, they take your happiness, leaving you with none. I think the world has idolized weddings and not marriages, especially when we have shows like Say Yes to the Dress, like David Tutera, 4 Weddings, 90 Day Fiance. We fall in love with the aesthetic of marriage and not the purpose. Adam and Eve had purpose. Abraham and Sarah had purpose. Isaac and Rebecca had purpose. Mary and Joseph had purpose. Gomer and Hosea, who was told to go marry a prostitute, had purpose. And that marriage alone represents the marriage of Christ to his church. Just as he instructed husbands to love their wives as Christ loves the church. Nothing in scripture points to happiness being the reason for marriage, but it always points back to purpose. When I gave my life to Christ and I became his bride, I didn't expect emotional happiness. I expected purpose. And I knew that purpose would come with some very hard times. And even though I go through those hard times and sometimes it doesn't feel good, in that purpose of living for him, I find my happiness. This is why being equally yoked and understanding your assignment in your marriage is so important.